What a crazy couple of days with regards to trade. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on. So a few days ago, a federal court, the Court of International Trade, blocked Trump from imposing sweeping tariffs under his International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977. And they had argued, this is a three-judge panel, that it exceeded his authority and left the country's trade policy dependent on his whims. And so a day later, a circuit court, after they had appealed, just hours later after that news had come out, they were allowed to keep those tariffs in place. So they allowed a stay. And so this New York-based court said the U.S. Constitution gave Congress exclusive powers to regulate commerce with other nations, and that was not superseded by the president's remit to safeguard the economy. So if you remember, the Liberation Day tariffs that went into effect was specifically only with regards to this IEEA Powers Act, but it left in place tariffs that Trump put in place with Section 232 powers from the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. And this act allowed and granted the president significant authority to negotiate trade agreements primarily by lowering tariffs with the goal of promoting international trade and economic growth. And so this was deemed allowed or necessary to restrict imports or negotiate with trading partners if imports were determined to threaten national security. So that was that 25% tariff on imported autos and parts, as well as foreign-made steel and aluminum. So that's good. But they had also blocked a separate set of levies imposed on China, Mexico, and Canada in response to what the administration said was an unacceptable flow of drugs and illegal immigrants to the U.S. And so I'm not going to go through the details of the case. It's a two-part case, some brought by U.S. states, led by, I think, Oregon, and a company or set of small businesses with the nonpartisan Liberty Justice Center. But the focus here, according to Trump, has been on the three judges, and one of them being, this is just summarizing what Trump is saying here in his Truth Social Truth, but he is targeting this guy, Leo, from the Federalist Society. And back then, he basically were given recommendations from this Federalist Society on judges, and one of the three judges was appointed by Trump, but of course he went against Trump in this decision. But it brings to the attention and to the limelight who this guy is, and again, part of this whole operation of exposure. And so he here specifically talks about these radical left judges and all these things. And then separately, we have another issue where China, according to Trump here, has violated its agreement with the US. And so there's a lot going on, but basically other things behind closed doors is happening, and Trump is making some of these accusations. So a lot of legal opinions and people, including Goldman Sachs and different analysts, talking about what he could do and cannot do in some sense. And the argument for this next hearing, or rather them taking time to then give their opinions and all these things and legally file with the court, is by the June 5th deadline. And so a lot of things still about to happen, but it may go up to the Supreme Court if this is not overturned, or if it is not retracted by the Court of International Trade. So the commentary here is that a lot is still progressing, but Trump, he has the authority, he has the ability to do these things under multiple laws and agreements. But the question here is that why is this happening right now? Part of it, as I've been saying, is that we still have a battle with the deep state and people that are against the country and against the cleaning house of the deep state, or whatever you want to call it. But also Trump, as he's done many times, is bringing this to the limelight for the public, because a lot of people they still don't understand the tariffs and what Trump is doing. Everyone just has a surface level understanding of, oh, it's disrupting things short term and it's hurting me and prices are going up and all these things, but they don't understand the long-term vision and also what trade deficit is and how America needs to turn back to manufacturing and doing certain things in-house so that they're not continuously selling off their assets and their power to other nations and getting people like the nation of China, many other nations, leverage and more power as they grow in their economic ventures. And so, again, people don't understand some of these things and why it's necessary and why Trump and the White Hats and these guys are doing it for the sake of the future and dismantling the deep state. But again, the people, the powers that be within the black hat side, they're trying to do their best to disrupt and make sure that this all goes to their side. But Trump, he's also using this as a method to inform people so that they can research, they can understand, and then everything must go through the court system such that it's shown optically that it's being just and it's being done correctly. Trump has done that this whole time with every other thing. So don't be concerned. I know markets are fluctuating, things are happening, but we're doing this for a reason. Part of this, again, has been that it's a movie, it's an optics thing to get the public on board, because stuff like this is very complicated. Even myself, graduating with one of my degrees in economics, part of me, it's hard to go through the law and understand and visit some of these impacts to fully grasp what's going on. But Trump and the White Hats, these guys have high level, very world class economic professionals, subject matter experts that are doing these things and giving advice, and they have a bigger plan in place. But part of it involves the step-by-step necessary sort of thing to root out the people that are against the country, if you want to say double agents or just deep state people. But at the same time, we have to revert and educate people. And so again, there are people that they don't understand the court system, they don't understand what's going on. That's why there's a fundamental difference in ideology. You got left versus right, you got the liberals and these guys that are anti-God. If you don't know the Bible, if you don't know God, if you're not led by the Holy Spirit, you're going to have selfish thoughts. You're going to have thoughts that are marginalized. They are in partiality to one thing. They're looking at one person. They're looking at, oh, look at these immigrants and these guys and all these issues, women's, choice and this and that. But they don't understand the bigger picture of what the issue of immigration is, what the issue of economic dominance is, what the issue of children are when you're sacrificing them and all these things. So they have a skewed understanding. We need to pray for them so that they would grow, but also remove them and allow godly people to be put in place for judges, for verdicts, and all these things, so that we can advance godly principles. So this is part of it, guys. Part of it, with especially in finance and economics, it's hard to understand, but you have to ask the Lord, why is it that this is happening? And again, just like with Christ, with the apostle, the disciples, these guys, they went through times where there was opposition. People were arguing against them, but you have to be shrewd. You have to understand your subject education, all these things. You have to be educated. You have to understand your field, and then be diligent and live in excellence for the Lord for these things, so that they would step up, be the best lawyers, be the best lawmakers, be the best politicians. And these guys are being put in place here for a reason, so that God would use them for big things. So don't be concerned, guys. I know it's a battle. It's part of this process, but we're going to see it. We're going to see through it till the end, and we're going to see a lot of good things happening on the other side. So I don't think this is going to stay, in the sense that the courts and the evil left, they're going to have their time to shine in this area, but rather it's going to go through the courts, the Supreme Court, whatever, they will handle it, and it's going to be put in place. So even if it gets struck down under this particular 1977 law, there's the other one, 1962, I think, the Economic Powers Act, and all these other things. He has many tools at his disposal to be used to combat the country, so that they would, I don't want to say bow, but they would have good trade negotiations, to have equal trade, so that the deficit can be reduced. And just like with Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, the recent tour, and even hopefully with China and many other countries, they would have agreeable, favorable terms, such that it would be equal, but also the U.S. would get back their ROI, their return on the investment, and the giving of money in some sense. So Trump is a great deal maker. He's going to allow this to happen. Don't be concerned. Love you guys. Talk to you guys very soon.